Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so I'm going to demo once again the GitLab operator at its current state for this week. Some of the things that have changed since last week. We've started on the docs. We're still in a merge request, so this still hasn't, the docs and this feature haven't been merged to master yet. But we've reduced it down to just everything is in this one merge request. The other merge requests we had going on have been reviewed, approved, and merged into this one. We're getting very close to merging this into master to have the first go around. So for what I already have set up is I did already set up a cluster with just our regular stable release of the chart. Just excuse me while I move the participants out of my way. Okay. Running our latest stable release, and I just ran QA against it to make sure everything was functioning normally, which it was. So I'm going to go ahead and install the version of the branch of the chart that includes the operator that's based out of a master version or a master image of GitLab in order to show the upgrade. So in order to do that, I'm going to use this command here. I'll just paste it in and then I'll walk through it a bit. For the final install command. So for the current state of this operator, we've moved to a two flag approach basically. So at the moment for the initial install, and we've changed this since previous weeks, so that this installation and this method of installation is the same whether you're upgrading from a non-operator version or if you're installing fresh and you want to use the operator. Either way, this is now the same syntax that for this very first time we're doing it, we need to turn the operator on and also set it to as no deploy true. We're still looking for improvements on the name for the no deploy part. What that's going to do is it's going to upgrade this instance of GitLab. It's going to upgrade the Helm chart instance to the latest version of the chart, but it's actually going to pause all the actual deployments of Unicorn and Sidekick by default, but it will not deploy the operator on this first one. So those Unicorns and Sidekicks will just be there paused until we issue another upgrade with this no deploy command false or removed. The reason for that is currently if I just tried to deploy this with operator enabled true without this no deploy command, because the custom resource definition hasn't been created yet in this cluster at all, it would error out. So this just gives us an opportunity to create that in one pass and then create the full operator in the next pass. And we're looking at improvements to reduce this back down to just the one command. But for the current version, this is what we've gone with until we've resolved those. So I'm going to go ahead and run that.
So would skip be a thing? So it reads as global operator skip? No, because we just enabled it. So skipping what?
Yeah, it could be like CRD only or something like that has been brought up as an alternative. Or bootstrap only, maybe, or something like that. I don't know.
Bootstrap would be a good word there, I think, because we have something similar in Omnibus for the first installation. Remember the bootstrap flag?
Yeah. The only difference here is that with bootstrap on, you also can't. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. We can. Yeah, I'm not sure. Usually with a bootstrap flag, you could probably still keep it on for further installations, where in this case, we want to flag it off. No?
So with Omnibus, the first time you install, it says bootstrap on, right? Or rather, bootstrap is false by default.
Yeah.
And then you install it and it's Bootstrap on, and going forward it's Bootstrap on. Or rather the other way around. The other way around. That's
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Bootstrap on first and then Bootstrap off.
Yeah,
but
it's smart enough to turn itself off. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. And we can think of it like later, but Bootstrap might be a good one.
Yeah. So basically what should have happened here is we don't have, so the pods that we don't have being paused by default should have rolled to the new version. Shell's updating, the rest have already done. Task Runner still upgrading, but basically Sidekick and Unicorn have been paused, so they're still on their old versions. Yeah, and probably this should still be working fine. Yeah, so the project page, the application is still up. We haven't rolled out the new version. And so we're going to basically run the command again, but drop the no deploy. Or we could explicitly set it to false on the no deploy command.
So first time you just install everything, and then the second time you actually deploy the rest.
Yeah, so yeah, the rest being the operator and the GitLab object, which is the implementation of our custom resource definition.
Yeah.
The operator itself pauses, does some additional pausing, as you can see now that I've refreshed it. Mm-hmm. That might be something we change, like what's being paused and what's not going forward. But right now, we're just keeping it in the current merge request. We're just keeping it the way it has been.
It's fine for now. Let's not expand this.
So yeah, now the operator has created a new secrets job, because that's been moved into the operator if you're using the operator. So that hook is gone. Actually, in this current iteration, I don't think there's any pre-hooks we're running. Oh, I think maybe just the CRD install.
There's one hook, right? Like CRD install. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not actually using that specific hook though, because it was giving us issues on upgrade. It basically didn't work for upgrade yet. But yeah, we're running our pre-migrations now. The operator itself should also be in here. Yeah. And at this point, we expect this to basically follow the our expected rollout pattern of pre-migrations, unpausing all these deployments, waiting for them to finish deploying, running post-migrations, and then rolling Unicorn and Sidekick.
Will we have any wiggle room there? Later on, not now, obviously, but later on, will we have any room to specify when exactly we want to run the post-deploy migrations and roll the rest?
At the moment, there's no control of it. It just happens.
No, I know now, but I'm saying, like, do we have room to implement this if necessary?
Yeah, we'd have to put it. We'd want to put it on the GitLab object itself, right? But as long as we put, whenever we want to make a change like that like triggers something later or triggers something specific to some certain workflow that we're changing, as long as we change it in the GitLab object, any change to that object will be picked up by this operator, and we can put logic in this operator to handle that. So yeah, as long as it's something we can put on that GitLab object if we've figured out how to make some sort of terse syntax to indicate what we want, as long as we can do that and put it on the GitLab object, we can then, in the operator, have it respond to that change.
Okay. That sounds good. Because for GitLab.com, like, regardless of whether we're going to use the chart complete or not, something like that would be a really important thing, because sometimes we might not even want to run post-deploy migrations right away.
Yeah, so it's already rolled out. The one thing, and this is something that's been not working for the last month in the operator, is it's not properly waiting for the rollout to happen before it runs like the post migrations. We have an open issue for that at the moment. So it's rolling. It's unpaused everything now. So Unicorn and Sidekick are updating, but it's also running the post migrations
at the same time.
Well, it started them in the right order, but it just didn't. It has a wait check, but the wait check is returning that these things have already been deployed when it's not true.
Okay.
We have an open issue for that.
Mm-hmm.
As one of the next things we have to tackle. I'm just going to go and show that the project page is still up. I should have tested it. Well, actually, no. While we were paused, it was fine. Would have been fine. Yeah, so at this point, the only like weirdness we should have seen if we were refreshing this page is just based on like if we got a different pod for assets versus the back end and the page, the rest of the page is the only weirdness we're expecting at this point.
Okay. And what version are we at now? Can you go to the help page?
This one hasn't been updated yet, looks like. Yeah, so it looks like we have one of the new ones up. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
That's that behavior.
Yep. Missing assets.
Depending on which one you manage to hit.
So, DJ, there is another spanner in this work. Let me just ask you a question first. How do we upgrade items when you upgrade to the new release, like with the operator, as in what order? There is no order like where when Sidekick gets upgraded and when Unicorn gets upgraded, right? Like as soon as you unpause, it just does it at the same time, right?
So we have, there's a bit of an order, basically. It actually, because it paused more, like right now it paused more things, it actually unpauses, like it explicitly unpauses Giddily first.
Okay.
Then I believe it unpauses everything else but Sidekick and Unicorn.
Okay.
And then it makes a decision to, and it has like these wait statements in there. It's not for any of the other ones, but it is supposed to wait for Giddily specifically.
Okay.
But once again, that's not, like it's just returning, yeah, it's rolled, it's good.
Okay. Okay.
But Unicorn and Sidekick both happen at the same time.
Okay, that sounds good.
But there is some controls in there, but it's not like it's all hard coded in. It's not very configurable or anything like that.
And that's fine at this stage.
Okay, now we should be seeing the new version.
Yeah, there we go.
And I think our update is complete. Yeah. So actually, if we're going to the operator, I should have had this log up here the whole time, but it should basically say that we're at an end of the reconcile run. Yeah. So now the next thing I can show is including.
Sorry, what's the warning at the top?
So this is when it first booted up before. Well, actually, I'm not exactly sure on this one. It looks like one of our error messages is incorrectly being logging before flag parse. So I'm not sure.
And scroll up. Oh, no. Stop. There we go. A warning could not determine if upgrade is required. No major minor patch element found. Yeah,
so this is, actually I'll have to look into make sure we're adding this back in on the workers. But basically we're with the operator version, we now add an annotation to the pods that tell us what version it is. And for the upgrade situation from an old version, that annotation doesn't exist.
Okay.
So the idea is that even if we don't find it, we assume that this is an upgrade as well.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the idea at the moment. It's also in the case of, we're also using it for like if it wasn't actually a version, but it was like in this case it was like latest or whatever. It'll if it's not a proper Semver version, it'll just say, well, we're just going to assume it's supposed to be a proper update.
Yep.
And it'll go through at the moment. That's a good point. I have to make sure that we're setting that annotation that might have been lost. But okay, what I'm going to show is some of the other improvements that have been made over the past couple of weeks are that, which wasn't something we could do before, was that we can actually deploy multiple of these now and they don't interfere with each other. So I'm just going to call one GitLab 2, give it a different name and see if Let's Encrypt. Let me use this domain. Oh yeah, sorry. I have to turn off Cert Manager because you can't have multiple of those. While Cert Manager wasn't necessarily happy with me trying to deploy two of them, the operator itself, well, I guess it's not actually being deployed at the moment, but I'll just go ahead and we only need the no deploy just for that initial hook anyway, so I can right away call this again. Get that operator in there. But if we go to our old operator, it shouldn't care at all. It shouldn't be worried about the new one. We've separated them by the release name, so they're not worried about each other, which is an improvement on the behavior we were seeing a couple weeks ago. I actually don't know if my cluster will be able to boot up two GitLabs, now that I think of it. Yeah, this initial install of this GitLab 2 should work the same way. Just take a little bit longer because some of the things are already up. At the same time, we can do a delete of the old one. So I just want to show that the other thing we have working now is being able to delete and reinstall and not have conflicts, which is also a pretty big improvement over what we had a couple weeks ago as well. So from this delete, the one improvement we should see is we should actually see the operator this time deleted versus the last time the operator was hanging out. So the only thing that should be, that is still being left ends up being these jobs that are created and some of the secrets and stuff like that. But basically just the migration jobs and the secrets jobs.
But that previously also was the case, right? Like previously we had jobs laying around.
Yeah.
Before operator, right?
Yeah, we had it often so that on delete there was, and then on the next, if you installed again, it would like clean up old migrations.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just did a delete, it would leave those jobs behind as well. Usually not the shared secrets one though. But we do have a issue log to look into cleaning those up more. But the biggest thing was just being it so when we could remove it and enough was removed that we could reinstall it and stuff like that without being in a broken, like not leaving anything in a broken state. The other thing we're leaving behind now is that GitLab, the CRD itself, I think, or maybe not the CRD, but the GitLab object, I believe we end up leaving behind. Oh, actually, in this current, actually, I don't know if that's true in this current iteration. Let's see. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can. Oh, okay, so it doesn't leave it around. Yeah, so at the moment, even that gets cleaned up, the GitLab object as well.
All right.
So just the pods are shutting down, but basically after it's done, just these three in terms of pods will be left, these three jobs from the initial one. And I will be able to, well, actually, I'll just do it now. I can install using that same name again.
So what's the main blocker right now that we are still in this branch? I thought like when I was looking at stuff on Monday that we were close to merging the rest of the items. I saw that shared secrets one was merged, but why is this not merged yet? What's the holdup there?
So I think it's in review at the moment. Basically, we were just iterating on, as far as I know, iterating on some final comments in the documentation that we've added. So we just made a recent change there that we were looking at, and then I think it's assigned probably to Jason for the current review at the moment.
Yeah, let me pause.